Greetings, friends. Here we are at another one of our free Friday community classes. I post these every single Friday right here on YouTube. So if you have not subscribed, please do so. You'll get a little ding every time something new comes out. We're right in the middle of a 5-part series on Wortcunning as, and we're looking at different ways in which traditions of Wortcunning, especially traditions of Wortcunning that apply to lay folks, like just everyday people who love working with plants, can add to our overall sense of self, our overall sense of autonomy, and our overall sense of well-being. And this week we are talking about probably one of the most important aspects of the ritualized part of Wortcunning, the animist part of Wortcunning, and that is reciprocity. Sacred reciprocity is the ritual of the universe. It is the most essential spiritual practice, and it's the thing that, if we look at all of our Proto-Indo-European mythology, it's the thing that literally keeps the universe moving forward. Without these sacred gifting cycles, without the openly receiving with gratitude and then returning with open giving, things come to a stalemate. Things become brittle, things fall apart, energy stops moving, energy starts being hoarded in one place, which means that it's lacking in another place. And it is not a far stretch of the imagination, because in the world that we live in right now, we see this happening every single day, right? Many of the child cultures of the Indo-Europeans have these myths that talk about a dragon or a serpent or some kind of demon hoarding all of the wealth of a culture, sometimes in the form of cattle, sometimes in the form of gold, sometimes in the form of water. And that serpent will surround all of that and hold it in and hoard it. And that means that everybody else is going without. And this is really a lesson about reciprocity, that when we don't give back, when we don't figure out what it is that we have that can be shared with the world and allow other people to do the same, then we create these little whirlpools of hoarding, and it causes everything to shut down. It causes the flow of energy, of vital force, to stop moving between people, between traditions and cultures, within the land itself, between humans and the gods. This is very, very important. And when it doesn't work, it's bad. So here's how all of this plays into Wortcunning. One, and we won't get too deep into this part, is that Wortcunning comes from a specific place and a specific culture, right? And it comes from the Germanic children culture, the Anglo-Saxons in England. And this culture was, of course, influenced by, especially when it comes to herbal medicine, many other traditions, continental Europe and Mediterranean, all of that is there too. But Wortcunning is reciprocity because Wortcunning comes out of the pagan, animist, heathen traditions of a part of the world where reciprocity was seen as the penultimate spiritual practice. Right? So we will see it woven into Wortcunning practices over and over and over again, because Wortcunning evolved from traditions that valued reciprocity. So that's one part of it. The other part of it, which I want to focus on here, is that the plants are exemplary teachers of reciprocity. If you're ever not sure how to be a good receiver of gift and then how to be a good giver of gift, go sit with trees. Go watch plants. Watch how plants interact within themselves, with other plants, and with other beings, like animals especially. We can see how plants are able to create infinite loops, infinite cycles, and sometimes cycles within cycles of this sacred reciprocity. That plants give freely, without rancor, without expectation. This is not barter or exchange. It's not some kind of capitalist transaction. Plants just give. You've never gone to an apple tree and picked an apple and had the tree say, "I'll give you this apple, but here's what you have to do for me." Nope, that's not reciprocity. That's a transaction. Okay, and transactions happen. That's just part of life. But sacred reciprocity is different. It looks a lot like transactional business, but it's different. And we shouldn't think that it's one or the other, or that somehow they're connected. They're different things, in my opinion. So we've never gone to a tree or a plant and received nourishment from them, or medicine, or shade, or beauty, or inspiration, or fuel, or fiber, or whatever, all the things they give us, and had them say, I'll give this to you, but you must do this for me, or I'll give this to you if you do this for me. What they do is the one thing that we as human folks engaged with wortcunning practices, animism, paganism, heathenism, or earth-centered, nature-centered spirituality should be striving to do all of the time in this work, which is to give freely, to give without expectation, to give for the sake of giving, because we understand that by giving, we keep energy in the universe moving, right? That when we hoard and hold, everything stops and nothing flows. And in the body, when that happens, it's a disease state, right? So in society, in the world, when that happens, it's also a disease state on a larger socio-political scale, and it's very, very problematic. So we try to give for the sake of giving. We try to engage in sacred reciprocity in the gifting cycle because we enjoy being in the flow. We enjoy being part of the ritual, the ceremony that keeps the universe spinning, that keeps things moving, right? We are part of that. And when we give without, without expecting anything, when we give without transaction, when we give freely, then there is something very magical that happens inside of us, in that we create spaces within ourselves where we can then receive freely. We can receive openly. And, vulnerability moment here. I struggle with this all the time. I've been doing this work for 25 plus years, and I still have a hard time openly receiving. And I still catch myself, finding situations when I go back and review my day at the end of the day, which is a practice very important to me, sitting down at the end of the day, going back through the day and saying, where are the holes? Where are the moments where, I could have done better? I'd like to do better in the future. I'd like to learn from this. I'd like to learn from how I'm feeling now about something I did 8 hours ago. Still days when I find where I could have given more. I could have shown up more. I could have been part of this process, this ritual, in a better way. And I don't beat myself up about it. That's pointless. You learn from it, right? Say like, ooh, okay, so next time that comes around, I'm going to step in harder. I'm going to lean in harder because I want to go to bed that night being like, that was a win. I feel really good about how I did that. So we give freely without expectation for the sake of giving, and it allows us to learn. Again, it's a practice. It's a journey, not a destination. It teaches us how to open ourselves up to receive more fully as well. And that's really where the beauty is. And we see in all of our old lore, all of the folklore, from everything from Wortcunning to the story of kingdoms and kings, that when people were in this flow state of reciprocity, as taught by the plants, peace and plenty. And we'll talk about that next week. We're going to wrap this series up next week with Ar und Frith, right? Plenty and peace, always having enough, allowing yourself to be at peace. This is a huge, huge part of wortcunning for me and what health is. So the plants teach us reciprocity. They teach us how to stand in the world, to show up as ourselves, and to give what we've got for the good of all, right? Plants show up, and simply by being who they are, they create a cooling shade. They create a place for us to lean. They create beautiful fragrance to delight our senses and beauty to inspire us. They make food and medicine that they share with us, fuel and fiber, not by pushing, but simply by being who they are, right? They just show up with all of their inherent resource, their inherent virtue, and they allow that virtue to flow out into the world. And that virtue for other beings, other people, is so valuable, so meaningful, because it's different than what they have as virtue, right? Apples are amazing to you because you can't make apples, right? If you could, it'd be no big deal, right? So they teach us how to give freely, and they teach us how to receive freely. They teach us that we go stand out in the sun and we face our leaves toward the sun, and the sun shines for us. We just soak it up. Again, we don't have to push. We don't have to beg. There's no groveling, right? That's not what this is about. It's about allowing the virtues of Sunna, the sun goddess, to be a gift for us. as we're allowing our virtues to be a gift for somebody else. And similarly, the plants then soak up the blessings overnight of Mona, the moon, right? And they allow his virtues, just by him existing, just by him being moon, they soak that up and it does something for them. And then we come along and we see that there's some room for maybe some pruning or some water, and we have opposable thumbs so we can do that for the plant. And the plant says, wow, just by this human existing and doing humany things, exhaling carbon dioxide and wanting to make beautiful spaces that they feel comfortable in, watering and pruning, their virtues extend to the plant and fill the space that the plant has from giving what they gave to you, right? And so it's not a one and done. It's not a ding, 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 ritual begins, ding, 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 ritual ends. It's a ding, 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 ritual begins, and then that ritual is our life. That ceremony is our life. That idea of always being willing to allow our virtues to flow wherever they need to be flow, wherever they'll be caught, right? And this sort of dovetails with some stuff that I've spoken about more on my blog and a little bit in other videos, that this concept of, EC, we call it EC, if you see it, right? Like if you see it, it's yours. If you see somebody struggling, because you were there, connected by weird, in that moment, your fates are to some degree intertwined. It is on some level your responsibility to check in with that person. Are you okay? Can I call someone for you? Can I do something for you? Can I get you water? If you see trash on the ground on your walk from home to work every day, that's your trash, right? American exceptionalism, American hyper-individuality has trained all of us, me especially, to not think that way, to think like, that's somebody else's problem. I pay taxes. Somebody who gets my tax dollars will come in and fix that. But again, the system has proven to us time and time again that we can't trust the system, right? If you want to make sure that the place where you live, the world you inhabit, the place where your campfire shines its light, that little orb of influence that you live in, is a place of harmony and wellness, helu, beauty, blessing, then we all have to sort of do our part. And this has really been a big part of my goal and my focus personally lately, and my ever evolving spiritual journey, is just, how can I just show up more? How can I just be a better force for healing in the world where I have influence, right? And we don't always have influence far away. And sometimes we do. There's people that can influence people from really far away, and that's just part of being in a modern world. But most of us, it's little things. It's attending to the plants and picking up the garbage and checking in on our neighbors and checking in on ourselves, making sure we're taking care of our own selves. We are a coherence of multiple souls. So there's also a community happening within us that needs to be tended to, right? Different virtues from different parts of us need to give freely to different other parts of us. That's also part of this. It's very fractal, as are all things in the world. So this has gotten rambly. I'm going to stop here, but let's end it by saying this. Sacred reciprocity is the most important ritual that we can ever do. I teach a lot of ritual, a lot of ceremony, a lot of practices, but if reciprocity is not in place, if we're not receiving fully from our allies, and more importantly, if we're not giving back to them with whatever it is we have to bring, especially our plant allies, right? Then it's a very one-sided thing, it's very brittle, and it's very unequitable. And this can feel cool for a while because you're like, ooh, I get all these benefits and I don't have to invest anything, but it breaks. And I watch people ride the wave and then get to the point where it all falls apart. I see it over and over and over again. And I think, man, if you just would have had this foundational worldview, this foundational perspective that you are part of the flow of things, that things work the way they work because you are here, and that we all have a part to play in all of this, we all have a responsibility of reciprocity, that wave would have just kept going and going and going, right? It seems so simple. I'll wrap up with this. It seems so simple, but like I said, I've been working on this for 25 years and I still haven't even gotten good at it, let alone perfected it. And I know people who are damn near perfection at it, but not me. It requires a lot of work, right? But we do things better and better all the time. And that means that in 3 days from now, in 30 days from now, in a year from now, we're that much better than we would have been if we just like put it in neutral and just kind of like, oh well, right? Not my problem. Not my problem creates so many problems. So I guess this class is a reminder about the importance and the sacredness of reciprocity and the gifting cycle, and an invitation to myself and to whoever else wants to hear it, to make it your problem, because it is. See you next time.